Hello, fellow safety and health professional, and welcome to another podcast in a series of podcasts based on an article in Safety and Health magazine that's all about you. Before I get into the topic about starting over, I wanted to mention that this has been over 10 years that I've been doing the article and then, of course, the podcast. In August of 2013, I wrote the first article, which was about the articles that I would be writing. I can't believe it's been that long. And a couple months before that, Melissa, the editor, got in touch with me. I thought at first she just wanted me to write one article, but when she told me I was going to have a column, I could write whatever I want, but it was to inspire safety professionals, I couldn't have been more thrilled and honored. I hope these podcasts have helped you. They've helped me. And I plan to continue for however long. All right, starting over is tough. I know as a personal example, because I hurt myself, this is a little bit embarrassing. Last summer, I was helping a friend put fly traps that were filled with this liquid, to attract the flies. And I was on a step stool. It was actually a small ladder. It had 3 rungs and then a top part, where you're not supposed to step on, and I didn't, but I couldn't reach it easily where the hook was. I overextended my left arm and seriously injured my scapula, my shoulder blade. It was totally my fault. Nothing to blame. I was being, lazy, I guess you could say. I should have went and got a taller ladder, which there was one. It just would have been a little bit of effort. I couldn't stand straight for months. It was way worse than I ever would have expected. Your scapula is very important. It's like a plate. And I couldn't sit. I couldn't stand up straight for months. I had to bend over, or I could lift my arm up over my head, and that was painful, and I could stand up straight. It really hindered my daily life. Oh, my word. I couldn't believe how many things it affected, including my sleep. I couldn't sleep hardly at all. I've spoken on this many times to audiences, telling them how you don't realize how much it impacts your life when you get seriously injured. Well, now I know, and it does, and it did. And it wasn't until about 2 months ago or so that I could really get back into my routine. And when I did, the setback had caused me to lose a lot of my abilities in 2 areas, particularly exercising. I could hardly exercise much when I first started. And my music, guitar. Part of what I do for my work, too, is music. And I didn't play guitar for 7-8 months at all. And it really was frustrating at first. But I got through it. And here I am. I feel like I'm back in the saddle. Things are going very well for me. Thankfully, and that's the first point of this, thankfully, my spirit of gratitude has helped me because I didn't have a permanent injury. I'm okay now. Instead of thinking, if I didn't stop doing this, I would be so much better at, in my case, exercising, playing guitar. Even my work, writing, I couldn't write because I couldn't sit down in front of the computer. My arm would go numb. I'm grateful. It shows your grit, and I'm sure everyone listening to this, you are probably also aware how a setback can cause you to be discouraged. If you haven't had a setback, it's rare. Mindfulness also helped me. What I did and do now is when I'm doing something and I'm not doing it as well as I did last year, I don't dwell on that. I just pay attention to what I'm doing. I know with time I'll get back to where I was. My grandmother used to have a saying, and she had a lot of them. This one was one of my favorites. She used to say, from the day you're born until you ride in the hearse, it could have been worse. And number 2, realize, as I mentioned earlier, it happens to nearly everyone. It's the rare individual who hasn't had to start over because of a misfortune or complications that was beyond their control. Your house burns down. That would be another example. That's not an injury, but wow, right? And big setback. That's why the well-known, centuries-old encouragement is something you should keep in mind. Fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. It's a reminder of the importance of not giving up. Now, you can apply that to any encouragement or any type of setbacks at work too. If your safety record falls down, I've been at companies where they had a tragedy. One time, two people died on the job at the same time. It was an accident, and they were doing really well with their safety program. Could have been better, of course, but oh my word, the morale there was horrible, and they thought their safety program was going to fall apart. It didn't take too long. I'd say about 6 months or so. That company's safety and health culture was better, way better than it was before the tragedy. So you can learn from your setbacks, realize it happens to a lot of people. I will never overextend myself on a ladder again, and I am more careful about my body than I was before the incident. So I've learned from it too. And here's something you might not realize. Your past progress will make a big difference when you start over again. I mean, I kind of knew that, but I researched it a little more depth and found out even my muscle memory and mental memory, it kicks back faster than if a person never did it. So I know how to exercise well. You might too. So I have that going for me. Plus, your muscles remember that you were once in a certain shape. If you used to lift a lot of weights or run marathons, that will matter if you have to start over again. It'll kick in and you'll get done faster, getting to a certain point. I had to stay out of the nuclear industry. I shouldn't had to, but I did stay out of the nuclear industry for 40 years. And then because of COVID, I had to go back into it after 40 years. Oh, it was tough at first. I had forgotten so many things. And I also had so much new things to learn, especially the technology. But my past experience helped quite a bit. If I had just been a brand new person, I certainly wouldn't have been able to get back as quickly as I did. So I keep that in mind. And finally, friends and loved ones make a difference. And we all know that. But when times get tough for you, that's when you really can appreciate that helping one another makes a big difference. The sympathy I got from my friends and family and the help I got really made a difference. And Melissa in particularly, I have not missed an article except for one time in all these years. That's one reason why I brought this up. In all these over 10 years, I kind of prided myself in the fact that I always got an article in, though it's often at the last minute, to Melissa. And I couldn't type. I just couldn't. Plus, I just felt so horrible. And I was feeling down. I apologized over and over again to her. But she was very understanding. She was just telling me, oh, Richard, it makes no difference. We just want you to get better. And that helped. Now, my starting over phase has mostly ended. And it didn't take long, really. 2 months, and now I'm not back to exactly where I was, but close. Now, if you have to start over, keep that in mind. It won't be long before you get your calluses again, and the setbacks to stress will be a distant memory.